this idea of multitasking is not a real idea. You can really only do one thing at a time, but you feel like you're doing a lot if you've got these lists going and you're switching and toggling from one thing to the other. But the studies have shown that when you're toggling from one thing to another and switching and calling it multitasking, actually what you're doing is not bringing your best game to any of the things that you're focusing on when you turn your attention to them. Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another solo episode of Energy Works. Lauren here. And I want to share a teaching that is maybe falls into Captain Obvious mode, but it didn't for me, so maybe it doesn't for you either. I've been really feeling overwhelmed lately because I have a lot of things going on, a lot of projects, and each project requires an enormous amount of research, investigation, comparisons, like all kinds of things. Nothing is simple. And I have maybe 10 or 12 things on my list, each of which requires the same level of detail. And it's kind of maddening to me. And I'm switching back and forth between all of these projects, depending on who calls first or who shows up or what deadline's hitting. And I'm just feeling like in the midst of all this chaos, and I'm not feeling grounded. The first thing that has gone is I'm not being disciplined in my practice, my EM yoga practice. So that's not helping my overwhelm either. So I have to get a handle on this because I feel like Pigpen in the Peanuts with these clouds of dust around him everywhere he goes. I feel like I have these clouds of chaos around me everywhere I go. And I just can't dissipate those and get a grip. And I just am longing to swipe all of these things off my to-do list, scratch them off. I love nothing more than doing a strike through on my to-do list. But it seems lately, every time I strike something through, 3 more things come on. And so I've just been feeling that overwhelm. Now, the first thing is probably kind of obvious to all of you, as it is to me now that I'm saying it out loud. And if anyone came to me with that same issue, I would say, okay, you need to do some self-care so that you don't feel overwhelmed. So you teach energy medicine yoga, do some energy medicine yoga. We've shared on this podcast before some really quick interventions, hand to the forehead, hand to the upper chest, to take overwhelm down in the moment. But when overwhelm becomes sort of the theme of your days and your life, those quick interventions start to lose their potency because you're not meant to operate under constant stress. The body is able to have a stressful event occur and then resolve that and then let the body come back to homeostasis. But when you're constantly stressed and overwhelmed by all the things you have to do and you never feel like you can climb on top of that whole pile or whatever the metaphor is you use for clearing out your to-do list, then those small interventions don't add up enough to take care of that whole pile of stuff, let's just say. So I had to take a step back and look at that whole Pigpen pile. And it's not like I can organize it in a sequential way because all of these projects are interrelated. Some of them are time dependent, some of them are weather dependent, some of them are other people dependent. So I really do have to be like a skater on blades, jumping from one little patch of ice across a little pond to another patch of ice so that I can stay in balance. Maybe what's a better metaphor? Spinning plates. Whatever the metaphor is, you can see that it's hard. I can't even keep a metaphor together right now. So here's my solution. And it's a solution that is in the book Atomic Habits, which is about building really powerful, strong habits in your life. And this is beyond it's January 1st, I'm going to start a new thing. And then by January 7th, you're like all over it again, not doing your new habit. Focusing on one thing at a time. One thing at a time. This idea of multitasking is not a real idea. You can really only do one thing at a time, but you feel like you're doing a lot if you've got these lists going and you're switching and toggling from one thing to the other. But the studies have shown that when you're toggling from one thing to another and switching and calling it multitasking, actually what you're doing is not bringing your best game to any of the things that you're focusing on when you turn your attention to them. So the truth is, we have the ability to focus on one thing at a time. And so out of that chaos, if I can't put it in a chronological or in a weather pattern, or if I can't find a way that I can organize it in my brain or on paper, what I can do is when something comes up that I need to put my attention on, do just that. Focus on that one thing. Take that all the way through to completion, even if it's just completing one piece of research on this bigger project. Do that, complete that, put that away, and then continue on with the next thing that is calling my attention. So I want to offer that out to you as a way for you to start to think about when you have the chaos going on in your household. Maybe the dog needs to be fed or walked, and the kids need to be fed or walked, and dinner's on the stove and needs to be tended to, and somebody's knocking on the door. You can't deal with all of those things at the same time. You can turn the stove off. You can let the dog out. You can give the kids a snack, and then you can go answer the door. Each of those things will resolve each of those issues one at a time, and then allow you to have the clarity in your mind to look at the next thing that's calling your attention. You deal with the person at the door, then you go back to the stove, you continue making dinner, you let the dog in. It's really in our minds that we feel the most convoluted, that we keep this idea that there's so much going on and there's so much to do and I can't get on top of it. But if you break things down into their smallest available integer, into their smallest piece, and pick that off, and then do the next one, and then do the next one. That's how any project gets done. No matter the scope or size of the project, each thing needs to be done one at a time, slowly, diligently, competently, and then it's complete. And then you go on to the next one. And just having that awareness inside of you can allow the cortisol levels to come down, allow you to calm down so that you can focus. Because if you're trying to do everything at once, you're not doing anything at all, and you're just stressing yourself out more. It's not helping your project get done. Any of your projects get done. It's just keeping that idea of all the crazy going and continuing and having you think that life is chaos. So I'm going to stop the you statements and turn it back to me and say, if I want to come back into calm and peace and centeredness, I can do one thing at a time. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. And then, if that thing feels a little wonky and I'm still stressed about how challenging that one thing is, then my intervention of the hand to the forehead to calm down that cortisol dump, to stay in the present moment, to stay very focused, to stay present and intelligent, then it works. Then it works. Because it's a specific intervention helping me to stay focused on a specific act that I'm taking right in that moment. So if you're juggling a million plates in the air, I'm going to throw out a suggestion. Maybe don't let all those plates fall, but as they come back into your hand, one at a time, put them down. One at a time. Put the plates in a stack on the table, and then pick up one plate and do that one plate at that one time and see how it works for you. I'd love to hear if you have any tips about what to do when you're in overwhelm, because that's one of the biggest things that we see in our community of energy medicine and energy medicine yoga. That's one of the biggest things that we see these days. It's not surprising. The world seems overwhelming. Our lives seem overwhelming. Everything seems overwhelming. But if you pull back from that big picture and focus on what's right in front of you, it takes everything back into calm. So, see if that works for you. And like I said, I'd love to hear what else works for you. What do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed, out of control, at wit's end? I'd love to hear your tools and tricks and share them out with the rest of our community, because it takes a village to raise a village. So thanks for your time, and we'll chat next time.
Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you, so please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates, so light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.